Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. A couple days ago in the afternoon, I heard the pigs squealing, and I thought nothing of it because they tend to fight a lot and we hear squeals throughout the day. But when I went out to do afternoon chores, I found one of the runts of this batch stuck in the pig feeder. And we have two runts in this batch, but this guy was stuck between the tank of the feeder and one of the vertical bars, and he was stuck behind his front shoulders. And the other pigs had taken the opportunity to nibble at his ears and his tail. So I pulled him out, but he was in a sorry state. He laid under the heat lamps here for a couple days and was shivering, and the other pigs were picking on him. So today we're going to bring him into the shop and warm him up and evaluate his injuries and see what needs to be done. Side. Spin around. All right, sit down. First thing we have to do is get him warmed up, so I turned on the workshop's heater. Then we have to evaluate all that's wrong with him. He's not walking very well. He must be bruised from being caught in the feeder. His breath's wheezy, possibly the beginning of pneumonia. And he's got wounds on his ears and tail, and a prolapsed rectum. Poor guy. First thing I'm going to do is give him a penicillin injection, mainly because I'm worried about pneumonia, but also to combat any possible infection from internal injuries from being caught in the feeder and the open wounds on his ears and tail. He's still got some squeal in him. That's good. Timing here now. Even though we turn the heat on, the concrete floor in the shop is pretty cold. We're putting up a heat lamp to help warm the pig and the floor. In addition to all of its other injuries, this pig also has rectal prolapse. And we see it most often with pigs in the winter. Not to say that it's common at all, but they seem to get it in the winter. And I think it's caused by them laying on each other and too close together. And this guy being injured probably got laid on top of, and it squeezes their body and causes their rectum to pop out. It can also be caused by pneumonia when the pigs cough so hard that once again their rectum pops out. The ways to solve this problem are, number one, to get the pigs to stop laying on each other by keeping them warmer. And number two, isolating him so that he doesn't get laid on. Number three, I'm going to feed him a thin solution of slop, which is a mix of feed and water, to make sure that his stools are loose enough to pass. We've had the vets come before when pigs had prolapse, and really there's nothing they can do. Time will take care of it. Either it'll pop back in or else the sphincter will close around and cut off the blood supply and it'll wind up dying and falling off in a couple weeks. So it just needs time. This should do the trick for him though. So this is just slop. Feed and water. Pretty thin. Here you go, buddy. We'll get you back on your feet, hopefully. Probably by tomorrow we'll have a good idea of whether he's getting better. Here you go. Please don't walk around in that and make a big mess. Pigs will be pigs, though. It's probably more than he'll eat in a couple days. The reason we didn't put any bedding in to the cage was because he's just going to foul it, and then it'll be a wet mess and it'll be colder for him. With a mesh bottom cage like this, we can just pick up the cage, move it to a fresh spot, clean up whatever manure there is, and keep them clean that way. The heat lamp here will help warm up the floor so he's not laying on a cold floor. And I'm going to leave the heat on to 70 degrees right now, and after it warms up in here I'll probably turn it down to 50 overnight and he'll have the heat lamp on him. That'll help a lot. It's been so cold out, he was just shivering in the pig pen. Right, little guy? We're going to have to give you a name if you're going to be the pig that we nurse back to health. I think right now all he needs is some time to settle in and relax a little bit, and hopefully he'll be able to get some sleep and get some food in him, and that penicillin will start to work. When folks ask us if we use antibiotics or not, I always say no, except. And I think that people are used to thinking of antibiotics as bad because of the therapeutic use of antibiotics, where they feed them to cattle in grain finishing lots every day. And that's a bad thing because bacteria develop a resistance. But in our case, we don't use antibiotics except if the animal's life is threatened by sickness. And it's the humane thing to do. It's just the same as if one of your family was sick and might die, you'd want to get them the proper medicine. Well, I'm certainly not going to give him green tea and kelp, to make him better. He needs heavier medicine than that. So we gave him a shot of penicillin. And I don't like the way the industry says it's all or nothing. In other words, yes, feeding antibiotics every day is bad. But on the other hand, making a rule to never give antibiotics is also bad. So we use antibiotics rationally, not to help growth and not to make up for stressful living environments, but rather to treat animals that might die. It's a sensible thing. 24 hours has passed and he's not looking any better. He's not shaking as much. His prolapse has gotten worse. He's been eating, so that's always a good sign with a pig. But we're going to go ahead and give him another shot of penicillin and a dewormer as well. It can't hurt. There's some comfort in knowing that we did everything we can for him if things do get worse and he does die. If we'd left him out in the barn and he'd died, I'd have felt terrible, but we brought him in, we've done everything we can. If he dies in this case, well, we know we've done everything we can, even though it's a terrible situation. My microphone failed me here, but if it had been working, you would have heard a terrible ruckus with the pig squealing and struggling. That's a great sign. He's definitely got more energy than yesterday. I could also feel that his body was a lot warmer than yesterday. Rectal prolapses are awfully nasty looking things. I suspect they're less painful for the pig than they look. When I came into the shop, he was laying down with the prolapse pushed against the bars of the cage, and it didn't seem to bother him. After I was done, he went right to drinking and eating. That's a good sign. There's hope for him yet. It's been 3 days since we brought this pig inside, and I think he's made a good turnaround. He's up and eating. He dumped his slop dish, which I consider healthy pig behavior. And when I was working in the shop this morning, he was up and investigating his pen. So he's on the mend. It's really fulfilling when we can save an animal like this, not only because of the bottom line impact, but this is kind of at the core of what we do in livestock farming, taking care of animals. So he'll probably be in here for a couple more weeks. It'll take that long for the prolapse to drop off, and then he can go back in with his mates. Oh, and I thought of a name for him now that we know he's going to live. His name's Harvey. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.